In every sport, we see instances of rule bending to gain an advantage. Take something like basketball players using a vague rule on traveling to take an extra step, for example. And I'm sure we have all seen soccer players laying on the ground holding their shin in pain until they get the call, and all of a sudden they are fine and stand up and walk away. The purpose of rules in sports is to make a level playing field for everyone. Professional sports do not claim to find the best team, they merely crown a champion for that year. And so some amount of gamesmanship can sometimes even add to the interest. However, CrossFit claims to find the fittest on earth, and so we want to measure the athlete's work capacity, not their gamesmanship. Is having an opportunity that would allow anyone to do less work than another and still win acceptable? At the CrossFit Games, we have seen one guy who is able to consistently optimize his outcomes by bending the rules, and that is the two-time champ, Justin Medeiros. The first time we were introduced to Justin's ability to take an advantage of a rule was in the 2020 CrossFit Games. Here we saw a workout that was a 100-yard handstand walk for time. In the standards of this workout, it said the athlete could come down every 5 yards. Now usually it's written that their hands need to start before the beginning of the next section. However, in this workout, it was written that athletes' feet needed to start behind the line of the next section. We see from the beginning of the workout that Justin was planning on taking advantage of this standard as much as possible. While the other athletes were handstand walking in much larger unbroken chunks, from the get-go, Justin was breaking every 5 yards and taking huge leaps into the next section. Not only does this give his shoulders a break, but it also cuts off what looks like to be about 1 yard on his hands per every 5 yards. Now let's break this down a little more. If Justin could save 3 feet every time he broke, and he broke 20 times, that means he saved himself about 20% less distance on his hands than had he gone unbroken. The way this standard played out literally allowed Justin Medeiros to do less handstand walking than his competitors, which is not fair. Or is it? Because in reality, the other athletes could have employed the same strategy Justin did, but they didn't. Maybe they weren't willing to try a strategy like this in fear of it not working out, and that's why he was able to take advantage of it and others didn't. The second time we saw Justin bend the rules actually resulted in a rule change altogether the following year. This all started at the 2021 CrossFit Games, where we saw a workout that included freestanding handstand push-ups and heavy deadlifts at 405. As the athletes were lining up to do this workout, we saw Justin wearing his gymnastics grips. These are usually used in gymnastics events hanging from the pull-up bar or rings to avoid ripping your hands. Now, because these freestanding handstand push-ups were a brand new movement at the games, you would think that is where Justin was able to find an advantage. But instead, he used an interesting techniques to make his deadlifts easier. As the workout went on, he used his grips during the deadlift part of the workout. He wrapped his grips around the deadlift bar, which put some of the weight on his wrist instead of on his grip because of the way the grips dowel around the bar. This is similar to the way it does when you're doing hanging gymnastics. In other words, think about how powerlifters use straps to reduce grip strain and control the heavy weights easier. So now when he kicks up into the handstand, his forearms and hands are much more fresh, which allows for better stabilization, and he has less overall fatigue in his arms from holding the bar. Now, if you're curious how much using grips on a deadlift can actually make an effect, clearly CrossFit thinks it had enough of an effect to emphasize this rule the following year in 2022. In the CrossFit Open Workout 22.2, which featured deadlifts and burpees, in the movement standards, it specifically stated athletes may not wear gymnastics grips during this workout. Presumably, this was a direct response to what Justin had done at the games the year previous. And not only did they specifically state you could not wear gymnastics grips during a workout with no gymnastics, but they actually even took it a step further. The next year, in the 2023 quarterfinals workout number 5, it specifically states in the movement standards that using gymnastics grips during the deadlift portion of this workout was prohibited. Even in workouts with gymnastics, they are specifying that grips can't be used on the deadlifts. Justin's actions in the 2021 CrossFit Games led to a rule change and huge emphasis on not using grips during deadlifts. But in 2021, before he made them add this rule, it was another moment where Justin was able to capitalize where others didn't. In reality, he didn't break any rules, but rather took advantage of something that had not been stated against the rules. It's common for refs in other sports to not be on the same page, and we have definitely seen examples of judges in CrossFit not being on the same page either. Which brings us to the most recent time Justin has used something like this to his advantage. The 2023 CrossFit Games workout ski bag ended with 20 sandbag squats. Athletes were supposed to advance into a new section on the floor every 5 reps. At the end of this workout, Patrick Vellner and Justin Medeiros are neck and neck. They both finish the 5 reps in this section and start to move on to the next. Vellner advances his bag all the way to the farther part of the next section like his judge was telling him to. But Justin takes one single step into the next section and begins his squats. At this point, not only did Justin have to carry his 200-pound sandbag 10 less feet, but on top of of that, Vellner can't see Justin to know how far along he is in the workout to help him race. Justin finishes just ahead of Vellner, drops his bag way back there, and runs in to edge him out. I don't know what the actual standard was or what the briefing to the athletes and judges was like before this workout, but clearly Justin noticed what his judge was doing and decided to take advantage. There is some risk and reward to this because it's very possible that he could have started doing the squats in that section and his judge would have ushered him forward into where Vellner was, costing him time and effort. It's also possible that Justin knew he should have moved farther forward, but saw his judge was not going to call it and reacted in the moment. Either way, Justin saw a potential advantage either with his judge or the way the workout was written and used it to maximize his outcome. Justin has done things like this over and over again. He's taken advantage of the language of rules like in the handstand walk workout from 2020. He's taken advantage of potentially unwritten things like he did by using grips on deadlifts in 2021, and he's taken advantage of judges' oversight like he did in ski bag at the 2023 CrossFit Games. Some of this is that he's willing to try strategies others weren't, and some of it is quick and clever thinking in the moment. One thing is for sure, these things make for interesting moments and they don't only exist in CrossFit. These types of things happen regularly in many other sports. But it's interesting to see how this type of gamesmanship translates into the sport of CrossFit, because in CrossFit, the programming is meant to be standardized throughout so we can have measurable, observable, and repeatable workouts that bring the fittest to the top. Do you think this sort of gamesmanship is simply a part of the sport, or should CrossFit look to make adjustments to prevent things like this moving forward? Let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe, and thank you for watching.